And welcome back to Backstage. I'm your host, Mr. Magic, sitting in with my guest this evening, Mr. Nadanja Bailey, one of the funniest men here in the island of Bermuda, and as we've heard, also overseas in certain clubs that you've performed in. What would you say would be, other than the competition that you entered and you won some years ago, you entered the comedy competition. Outside of that, what would you say would have been your biggest performance as far as audience size and venue and location? That was it. That year in Florida, in Orlando, when I won. Yeah. It's like 4,000 people. That's a pretty sizable 4,000 people. It was a very nerve-wracking experience, you know. But I got the end result that I wanted. Oh yeah. And it was good, you know. It was. I think that was the time there when I should have stayed away. Since I was already on that high, you were there, and my confidence was there, and that was the time that I should have stayed there. But I think my daughter was probably 2 at the time, 2 or 3, and that's a nice age right there. That's when they're coming into the personality, you know. Yeah. And so, you know, yeah. But yeah, bang. That would have been it. That would have been it there. Now, in doing your comedy, we hear about, I mean, we've heard how you talk. One of the jokes that I've heard you mention, you did it for my television special about your time in New York, and you know, wearing the different colors. You know. Right, yeah. Now, life experience has always been a factor for musicians. You know, country music, talking about, you know, my dog ran away, my wife is missing, I want my dog back. You know, things like that. You know, and they got these little quirks about their lives. In comedy, do you draw from your everyday experiences, you know, with the way you do things and how you present it? Yes. Yeah. From that particular joke, yes. Yeah. So yeah, if I think it's funny enough that other people will be able to relate to it, and you know, if it's going to be received well, yes. Not everything I've experienced has been funny. That would be true. That would be true. Some of it is tragedy. Yeah. And you know, I mean, there are those Greek tragedies that are funny. Exactly. You know, but in this case, not this. No. And I notice as well, you really don't bring. Well, I've heard you mention your dad in some of your jokes. Now that's about your life coming up, you know, with him and whatever the case may be. But I notice you do keep your children out of it. I don't think I've ever heard you say anything that your daughter might have done funny, you know, like walked out of the bathroom and you know, and things like that. I just talked about her one time. Yeah, that was it. I went to my mama's house and I took her, and my mama said, "You want to put this puzzle together?" And she says, "Okay." So we left her in the living room. So I went in the kitchen because my mama was in there washing dishes. So we're talking, catching up. And my daughter was just quiet. And so she's named Sania, right? And so I said, "Sania." No answer. "Sania." No answer. We panicked, right? So we went inside and she's there putting the puzzle together. Now she's got her back to me, so I'm standing behind. I'm like, "Sania, didn't you hear me calling you?" She's like, "Yes." Like, "But why didn't you answer?" She says, "I did. I just didn't answer loud enough." So, you know, that's something that I said one time, you know, but, you know, she saw it and she thought it was funny. And she said, "Daddy, talk about me again." I was like, no, because you scared me that day. For real? She put fright in me, you know, because we knew she was there, but she was just too quiet. Right, yeah. And too many things could have gone through your mind as to what could have been wrong. Yeah. So here's the question though. Did she put the puzzle together? You know? She was halfway done. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, she was focused. And that was it. Yeah, she was focused. But so yeah. That's why now it makes sense. You said, "Sania." "Yes, Daddy." Yeah. You know, yeah. But you know, that's just children. You know, they're wicked. Some of them. They do things to test you. Right. And I don't wish to be tested. Okay. So you leave your children out of your routines, you know. And so you got new material coming up, of course. I mean, because you're living your life. I'm sure, like you said earlier, only you wish you had written them down in certain cases. So with the amounts of jokes that have gone by, how much more on a regular basis come into your head, you know? Well, think about you having an everyday conversation with somebody. Even if that person's not a comedian, that somebody says something funny to you every day. That is true. So imagine trying to just retain that everyday information. It's too much for me. Yeah. And I can't do it if somebody says something, if I'm on the telephone and somebody says something. Now I gotta remember, we talk 10 minutes longer. How am I remember?
Yeah, that is true.
I'm gonna be ahead.
Yeah. So do you actually sit down? I've seen it, like we know Tony Schofield.
Yeah.
Now, I've seen Tony's diary. Okay, times that he was here and we used to hang out, and he's got his book, and your boy, and that's all it was. It was like he was never without it. You know, it's like as soon as he came in, bang, and he was writing it down. And he had this one page that looked so jumbled and so confusing, but yet he said, nah, that one was written on this day, this one was written on this day, I used this one in this routine and that routine and that. Do you get to that point? Do you have that comedian diary that most comedians have?
Yes.
Okay.
And I have pieces of paper that I keep in a book. So if I do a show, I'll put April 10th, the show and the venue, and I'll write out the jokes that I did that day. And then if I have another show coming up, depending on the age group of the audience, or if I can use profanity or not, I'll say, okay, I need just a clean set.
Yes.
So I'll say, okay, so I'll take this joke, I'll take this joke. So I have all these papers scattered, laid out, like 52 pickup.
Got you.
And I'm just picking from jokes, picking, and then just putting together a nice set.
And then, see, because what you have there, now you say you may have a bad head of remembering jokes, but you have a retention of knowing that these are laid out and they're there in your mind. Because I know of some comedians, they have a little trick. And I picked up on this some time ago watching a comedian that has a prop. They uses a prop on stage, which is his beer or his drink. And he's got his jokes written
in his hand,
on his hand, you know, on the back of his hand. So every time he puts a glass up to his mouth, he's taking a little glance on and say, well, that's the next joke coming up. I'm going to talk about my mama, you know, things like that.
Exactly, yeah.
So do you have a niche like that, or is it just like you said, you already look at your list and you can just go through
I can memorize it within 3 days.
Okay.
That set that I'm going to do on Saturday. So by Wednesday, I need to know what I'm going to do.
Right.
And sometimes I just wing it. I wait till I get there and I have my book with me and I look at the crowd and then I'll put it together. The thing is, I know the jokes. I just have to remember what order they go in for that particular night. Okay. So.
All right. Yeah. Well, Nadanja, thank you very much. Appreciate you coming by, man, spending some time with us here at Backstage. Good luck in your career, and we'll be keeping our fingers crossed in the hopes that you can get to that plateau that you want to get to and still be able to spend time with your family and raise your daughters as you would want to.
I only have one daughter.
One daughter?
I said I have 2 children.
You did, and you only mentioned one daughter.
I have a son. Don't leave him out. He's a bully.
Is he the oldest?
No.
He's the one that's 4 years old?
He's 4.
He's 4. So I'm sure some funny stuff's going to come out of that shortly.
He's funny on his own.
Oh, okay.
I'm not talking about him.
Okay.
No.
Not at all.
No.
All right, so we'll leave him on that note. So on that note, again, thank you, Nadanja, for being here. Tune in next week on Backstage. We'll have a new guest, a new conversation, and we'll be back next week, 8 o'clock, here on Channel 82, where Bermuda shines through. I'm Mr. Magic, your host. You all have yourselves a blessed evening.